where we left off, it's getting us ready for the fight or flight. And so when we look at both of them have the ability to increase the heart rate and the force of contraction. Now we're going to learn more about that as we move into the next few chapters. We're going to learn about this heart rate and the force of contraction. And what we're looking for is we're looking for it to decrease blood flow to certain organs while increasing it to others, okay? Because we need to increase it for respiration, we need to increase it for the cardio, we need to increase it to the muscles so that we can prepare to either fight or run. Now, in these other hormones that I mentioned, the minerals, the glucose, the androgens, basically going from these different zones, because that's the only thing it's telling us. It's telling us that this is a zone, okay, in the cortex of that adrenal gland. The other one we're talking about the medulla. This one we're looking at the cortex, okay? So they have it, classified as these three zones. Now, under the minerals, okay, the ones that are going to affect the minerals in the body, aldosterone is the one that is going to get produced in the greatest amounts under this classification. It has a connection to low blood pressure, all right? And once again, we're going to get more into this in the next few chapters. So, with aldosterone, it wants to increase the sodium reabsorption so that we can increase blood levels of sodium. So that's the biggest one under the minerals. Under the glucose, cortisol is the biggest one under the glucose. Now, this one, cortisol, the belly fat one. I don't like it, okay? I don't know about y'all, all right, but I don't like that one. It does help to increase the fat and protein breakdown. It does help to increase glucose synthesis, meaning, do you guys remember the gluconeogenesis that can take place? Okay, where we have to make glucose from something else, and that something else that we had to make it from was the breakdown of the proteins. So this goes back to the stress response, okay? And if the body doesn't have, or if it has used all of the blood glucose and the stored fat, and also the glycogen that might be stored. So the next thing it'll do is it will help to produce a glucose molecule through that process of the gluconeogenesis. And it can also help with glucogenesis, making a glucose from a glycogen. The biggest thing that happens when we have the cortisol get released, cortisol in the system over a long period of time will begin to affect our inflammatory response. So it will begin to make us more susceptible to viruses, other bacteria, and so forth. And it breaks down our immune system. And this is where it talks about how stress can kill you, okay? And eventually breaking down of the proteins of the body, and then having this, ability to be more susceptible to stuff that's going to make us sick, usually results in death. The androgens, okay, those from the reticularis zone, okay, these are going to be, for the most part, helpful with masculinity. Now, with this, okay, in men overall, androgens don't really play nearly the role that the testosterone does. However, note some of this masculinization that can occur with androgens. The pubic hair, axillary hair, sex drive in females. It's still important, okay? And since we shouldn't, as females, have that much of a level of testosterone, this is important for us as females. However, it can go haywire, all right? And you end up being, you know, the female that might have to shave every day. Just saying, okay? Just saying.
So it can cause the overproduction of hair?
It can actually be overproduced, and if it's overproduced, it's going to affect masculinization. Women as a whole, we're seen as being feminine, right? Men are seen as being masculine, right? Okay. However, the masculinization can occur in women because we can have this overproduction that will affect these other things that should only be in a minute amount, okay? But they'll get out of control in the female, and you'll actually develop a deeper voice. You'll actually develop hair on parts of the body that's very coarse, very rigid, overproduced. It'll show up, you know, there's some women who have beards.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was in grad school, girl I went to grad school with had to shave every day.
This may be way off, but you know when women are smoking, they can get like a mustache or something like that. Would that be affecting that? So something way different.
I'm thinking, now this is just me thinking off the top of my head. You know that always gets me in trouble, okay? But I'm thinking that because the toxins from the cigarette smoke break down so many cellular components about the body, that the hair that we have normally anyway, one of the things that happens with people who are heavy smokers, they're, so you got a constant purse that lip, okay? And they begin to have the breakdown of the skin structure. I don't know if you've ever noticed that in people who are heavy smokers. Have y'all ever noticed that? Okay? And I think it makes it more prominent. I don't know if they have an overproduction of hair. I just think it makes whatever hair is there, because cell breakdown and that sort of thing, you know, it's just more viewable.
I was just going to say, like, is it the same, like, if a woman has more back hair than a man?
Yes. I would imagine that that's going to come down to the masculinization.
So women get over masculinized, but
And men can be overly feminized.
when this happens.
Estrogen.
Oh, okay.
Lots of cool things happen with this stuff between males and females. Yes. Lots of cool stuff. Don't have enough time to even go into it, but y'all know me, it's cool. So, cortisol. Lipozene. Give me some lipozene, break down this belly fat I got. Y'all know that commercial, right? Where it talks about the cortisol and the belly fat and the lipozene. I've actually looked it up, but that's as far as I got. Now, regulation of the cortisol. So, here we go. You guys remember CRH? And I can't help but every time I see this think of CRS. Okay, just saying. CRH, okay, the corticotropin releasing hormone. So if we get this pickup, okay, of the levels in the blood, we're going to get CRH. CRH is going to move on to affect the anterior pituitary. Anterior pituitary will release the ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone. You guys remember that one? Okay. That goes on to have the effect on the adrenal glands. we get the cortisol production, levels will begin to go up because cortisol makes sure that we get those blood glucose levels back up, okay? So if we can get that back up, we're going to send the information that says glucose levels are good, stop this production, and quit releasing cortisol. Now, other stressors.
But does it sometimes have a good effect, cortisol, or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Under normal conditions, okay, which unless there is an extreme stress that is occurring in your life, all right, bad divorce, death of a family member, you know, something like that, that's a constant stress, something that you're having to deal with every day. There are just situations of normal stress, okay? And it doesn't mean that it's going to have a really bad effect, okay? However, that normal stress, that other stressor stuff right there, okay? That could be stuff like your physical exercise. And we usually exercise to decrease stress, right? It could be, I don't know, talking with a friend who might be having a problem, okay? And you maybe empathize with them or sympathize with them. There are other things that can be stressors, but they're not going to be something long term, all right? So this process will occur, but it's not going to lead to the effects that might happen for something that's over the long term. So yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, the stress that, you know, they say you need stress to make sure you stay alive, sort of, okay, yeah, all right, but the more laid back you are, the better stuff will be in your body, I think, just saying. So when we begin to have, with this particular